This is a call to arms. Are you tired of living a life of servitude? Watching those you love shipped off to a war no one believes in, never to return? You can make a difference. Join the Scarlet Guard today. Fight for yourself. Fight for your freedom. Together we will rise. Red as the dawn.
I'm Greg Rockefeller.
I'm Beth Rockefeller.
And I'm Mia Rockefeller, and this is Reading with the Rockefellers, a family book club podcast.
Today we are discussing Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard.
So grab a copy and join us on this literary journey.
After a week of staring at my clock, waiting for midnight, I begin to despair. Of course Farley can't reach us here. Even she is not so talented. But tonight, when the clock ticks, I feel nothing for the first time since Queen's trial. No cameras, no electricity, nothing. The power is completely out. I've been in blackouts before, too many to count, but this is different. This isn't an accident. This is for me.
Welcome to Reading with the Rockefellers. This is episode 9, Red Queen, chapter 16.
I'm noticing that Mare is a little self-centered. This is for me.
This is for me.
She's not wrong.
Oh, she's not wrong, but it's like her brain immediately goes there.
Correct, because everything is about Mare.
Also, she starts doubting Farley, and that's not a good idea.
She does that?
Yeah, of course Farley can't reach us here.
Oh, correct.
Really? Girl.
Yeah.
Farley can reach
She's
anywhere.
yeah, she's in for a surprise. So, what's the first thing that happens here as soon as she realizes there's nothing going on? She's like, I gotta find out what's going on, right?
Yeah, so she gets up, she gets shoes on, she goes outside she goes into the hallway, and Walsh is there. Just kind of pulls her through the darkness.
Right, grabs her, takes her to a stairwell, excuse me, and then she says they're going to have the power back on in 15 minutes if we're lucky.
Yeah.
To which Mare asks, and if we
we're
aren't?
not?
And Walsh says, well, then I hope you're not too attached to your head. Walsh clearly knows, at this point, the danger she's in. She knows what's going on, and she's fully still doing this because she believes.
Yeah, she knows
apparently
what she's getting into, as anyone who does this should.
Right. So then Walsh takes her, and she thinks, at first, it's almost like she thinks she's outside, because there's grass and earth under her feet, there's trees everywhere, but it's a conservatory.
Mm-hmm. And it has a glass roof so she can see the sky.
Right. And as they get to this conservatory, she hears a voice behind her that says, excuse me if I don't curtsy. I'm going to read this paragraph when she steps out. So
Can you read it the way you hear Farley's voice in your head for me, please?
Why?
Because it'd be funny.
I don't know how I hear Farley's voice.
Oh, yes, you do.
I can't do Natalie Dormer's voice, I'm sorry.
I may be able to. I really tried.
Yeah, do it.
No, I don't want to try right now. My voice is not in a good state.
But here is how it's written.
Yeah.
Excuse me if I don't curtsy, a voice says, emerging from a grove of white-spangled magnolia trees. Her blue eyes reflect the moon, glowing in the dark with cold fire. Farley has a real talent for theatrics. Farley in the house.
I don't think you know how happy this makes me.
This is the first chapter, the first time we really get a good dose of Farley and really kind of understand who Farley is. And
yeah.
As I've said before, she does not disappoint.
She does not.
So when we first see Farley, she's got a red scarf across her face, just like in the broadcast.
Yeah.
But Mare notices something about her, though, even with the scarf. What does she notice?
There's a scar, and Mare doesn't know where it starts because it technically starts under the scarf, but it literally goes all the way down her neck and into the collar of her shirt. So it's probably somewhere around her mouth area, and then literally just goes all the way down her neck.
And this is fresh. It's something that wasn't there the last time she saw Farley. So clearly Farley's been busy.
Yes.
So as they're standing there, then Farley asks Walsh, and the other one?
Mm-hmm. Which, Mare's kind of like, what? What the heck's going on here? This isn't... What?
So they're waiting for someone else.
Yeah.
And Walsh says Holland is bringing him. We've not met this character. We don't know who Holland is, correct?
No. Okay. Not yet.
But Walsh seems really excited, and Farley seems almost excited, at least for Farley.
Yeah, and Farley doesn't get excited. So, like, any sign of not boredom is like a good thing.
Correct. Who is this mystery other one?
It's kind of weird. It's Maven.
It's Maven?
I know, right? It's so weird.
Dun dun dun.
Now Mare's surprised, but like super stoked to see him.
Yeah.
Like over the moon.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, huh?
It's a little weird considering how she's felt before.
Are you when you read this the first time, was this like shocking to you?
Yes, it was.
Because specifically it was Maven?
Yes.
Would you have been like, let's say it had been Cal. Would you have been as shocked?
I would have been more shocked.
No, I wouldn't have been as shocked.
Why?
I think the way it was going at that point, I would have been less shocked if it was Cal, yeah. But
Cal seemed much more curious about, like,
the
red life. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's true, but he didn't think that the Scarlet Guard was a good idea. So him joining the Scarlet Guard specifically would be more shocking than Maven.
But saying he doesn't think the Scarlet Guard's a good idea is exactly what you would think someone who's actually working for the Scarlet Guard would say.
Okay, Dad. Laying it on a little thick.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
So when Maven comes out, his first words are, "I told you, you're not alone, Mare."
And Mare just falls head over heels for this guy right here and now.
Yeah, but be noted that Maven is also pee in his pants, petrified of Farley.
This is right. This is a great point, and this is what I love, and why this is a huge part. This chapter is so big. Again, I think it's possibly the biggest chapter in this book as far as a lot of things in the storylines.
Mm-hmm.
But you get so much of Farley right here.
Yeah.
And she's such a great character because she's a young woman who's very strong, doesn't take anyone's poop.
Mm-hmm.
But she's got Silver's terrified.
Exactly.
Maven is scared of her, and she's a red with no abilities.
Exactly. But, like, that's just how frightening she is in general.
A lot of it's just the way she carries herself, and we'll see a lot of that just in this chapter alone.
Yeah. She's very confident in everything she does.
So Farley...
This escalates quickly.
Right, because Farley is not super trusting and immediately puts a gun to Maven's head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a literal gun to his head.
Oh, yeah. Like, she pulls out her pistol and actually puts it to his head.
Yeah.
And she wants to know, why are you, the prince, wanted to join the Scarlet Guard?
Yeah.
And here we have to take one count off the flinch meter. Because she specifically says Maven does not flinch when Farley puts a gun to his head. So I was like, oh, that's a flinch.
Deducted.
Off the meter.
Yeah.
No flinch.
No flinch.
But what's Maven's reasoning? What does he tell Mare? You guys have it?
He's basically saying the world is wrong.
Yeah, this world sucks.
My father is wrong. The king is wrong. What his father and his brother are doing is wrong. But Farley's like, not having that.
Yeah.
And we know it's wrong.
We know.
Why is it any different for you as a Silver?
Yeah.
Well, and then Maven launches into a story here about his past when he was younger.
And it's a really touching story.
It's a pretty touching story, I'll give you that.
Right. Well, the first thing he does is he talks about when he was 12 and his father sending him to the war front, right?
At 12.
At 12.
12 years old.
Yeah.
And he talks about how Cal is perfect, and why can't I be perfect like Cal? That's what his father thinks of him. And Farley basically laughs at him and says, I have no use for jealous little boys. But then he goes into his story. And this is what, directly from the book, I wish it was jealousy that drove me here, Maven murmurs, murmur counter. I spent 3 years...
And there's a flinch in there too.
There is, yeah.
Yep.
I spent 3 years in the barracks following Cal and officers and generals, watching soldiers fight and die for war no one believed in. Where Cal saw honor and loyalty, I saw foolishness. I saw waste. blood on both sides of the dividing line, and your people gave so much more. There was a boy just 17, a red from the frozen north. He didn't know me on sight, not like everyone else, but he treated me just fine. He treated me like a person. I think he was my first real friend. Maybe it's a trick of the moonlight, but something like tears glimmer in his eyes. His name was Thomas, and I watched him die. I could have saved him, but my guards held me back. His life wasn't worth mine, they said. Then the tears are gone, replaced by clenched fists and an iron will. Cal calls this the balance, silver over red. He's a good person, and he'll be a just ruler, but he doesn't think change is worth the cost, he says. I'm trying to tell you that I'm not the same as the rest of them. I think my life is worth yours, and I'll give it gladly if it means change. And then here is what Mare thinks immediately after. I'm just going to read these next couple of sentences.
Yeah.
After she hears this, she thinks to herself, he is a prince, and worst of all, the queen's son. I didn't want to trust him before for this very reason, for the secrets he kept hidden. Or maybe this is what he was hiding all along, his own heart. So he's, this is a pretty brutal moment to hear Maven talk like that. I think, kind of a real moment. After this story, what does Farley do?
Well, she lowers the gun.
Which is, it's one step up from having a gun
about
to his
kill
head.
him.
And then Holland, Maven's servant, jumps right up and says, basically, he's felt this way for a long time.
Yeah, he's told me.
Since he came back from the front, he's talked about this. Anyone close to Maven knows this is how he feels.
Yeah. Mare uses one of my favorite phrases, too, when she says that she releases a breath she didn't even know that she'd been holding. That's like one of my favorite feelings when I'm watching a good show.
Or like a movie or something. Like you let out a breath and you were like, wait, when did I start holding that?
Yeah, I remember the first time I was watching Breaking Bad. I got to season 4, and there was an episode where that happened. They hit a scene break, and I was just like,
right.
Oh my gosh, was I even holding my breath? This is insane.
And what's funny is this is, again, back to Farley. There's kind of this release your breath moment because she drops the gun, right? She doesn't have it on Maven anymore.
Yeah.
But then she basically turns right on Holland and is in his face, and it's like, and you immediately told him about the Scarlet Guard. Like, yeah, your prince, who's a silver, says he thinks things are bad for the Reds, and you immediately tell him everything about the Scarlet Guard. She's just like, I'm in his face now, because to her, everything is about the cause and protecting what they're doing.
And Farley also has trust issues. For a good reason.
For a good reason.
Right. I mean, I have trust issues.
So, and Mare even at one point says that she believes what Holland says is true. She believes Maven. But she can't convince Farley. Only Maven can convince Farley.
Yeah.
So what does Farley ask Maven to do?
She asks him to do something called swearing on his colors.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah. For
Especially
silvers,
for
this is like the biggest thing.
Right. It's the colors of their family, their house, right?
Yeah. It's like swearing on your life, your family, and your children to come all at once. So it's...
And he does.
Literally everything.
He swears on his colors. He swears allegiance to the Scarlet Guard. And then Farley takes off her scarf off her face and says, welcome to the Scarlet Guard.
Yeah.
So do you guys think, when I was reading this, I kind of got a little thought train in my head about how long Maven had been back from the front. Like, does this put him at only like 15 or 16 years old at this point? Because if he went to the front when he was 12, he was there for 3 years, and he's been home for a couple of months or a few months talking about this.
15
that
or 16.
That can't put him more than 16 years old.
Right.
Yes.
That's crazy.
He's 16.
The amount of pressure.
Yeah, so much pressure. Like, seeing you guys at auditions and thinking, this is an age that you guys are bordering on. It's just crazy. It's so young.
Yeah. It is.
I mean, Cal's like 20.
Well, Mare's 17, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Mare and Maven are about the same age. Maybe
no, that would make younger. Maven, like a little bit younger. I mean, I guess she's closer in age to Maven than she is to Cal, which it would make more sense for her to be engaged to Maven.
But he's 16 still. Weird. Silvers, I guess. I mean, who am I to judge?
Anyway, sorry to derail us for a second, but that was just I was reading that thinking, oh my gosh, this kid is like 15 or 16 years old, and this is the stuff he's already had to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to think, what is Farley at this point, like 23 maybe? Which seems like light years older than Maven, but she's a 23-year-old young woman who's orchestrating bombings against these godlike tyrannical beings that are holding Reds down. It's just, I mean, all of these characters are so young.
Yeah. There isn't really a huge character that, like, does a lot in terms of, like...
That isn't relatively young. A teenager or early 20s,
Under, like, 25.
That is a young adult book.
Yeah.
So then, Mare moves over to Maven and holds his hand, which is hot now, by the way. But she goes over and immediately starts holding Maven's hand. And she whispers to him, "Thank you, Maven. You don't know what this means to us." But in her head, she thinks, "To me."
Yeah.
She's smitten.
Oh, she is so smitten.
She's seeing a whole different side, I think, of Maven. Not necessarily different. I mean, he seemed to kind of be the one that would wait for her and talk to her, when they were doing the training. But I just think this is kind of, she feels like she's seeing who he really is, maybe.
Yeah, I think I would say it's like seeing a different side of him, because he's finally kind of letting his guard down. He's showing what he can't when he's in groups of people or around his parents.
Right, exactly. And, I mean, he swore on his colors, which is no small thing at all.
Yeah.
So, between that and his story about the war front, I think at this point, when I was reading it, I was wanting to trust and like Maven, and I'm just like, I'm not trusting by nature when it comes to especially books and stuff like this, because I'm always looking for the next shoe to drop. But this is at this point, it's like, okay.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you wanted to trust Maven, but you couldn't fully let yourself trust him just because he was Alara's son.
Right.
And then he really opens up and tells this heartfelt story, and it's like, oh, well,
right.
Now you can't not.
He was closed off, and then he tells his story, and even Mare's like, I don't want to trust this guy. And he seems to be hiding something. Is this what he's been hiding all along? And it could be. I mean, he would have to be very tight-lipped around his family and obviously around his mom.
Yeah.
To do something like this.
Yeah.
So Farley's all business, and so she wants to know now, what can Maven offer?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of muttering from Maven and a lot of growling and snapping from Farley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because Farley's a very impatient person, especially if it's like, okay, now I just need to know what you can do for me, and I know you can give me these answers now, so don't dance around this. Like, I'm not going to be patient with this.
Well, he's like, I sit on this council and that council.
It's like, I don't care.
She's like...
Tax council. Yeah, Farley snaps.
The guard doesn't care about your councils. She wants to know names of high-up people. She wants locations they can hit to weaken the army.
What caused the most damage. Or,
she wants
take out the most
actual,
important person.
Right, that make a big, loud noise.
And Maven's like, not comfortable with that at all. He's kind of like basically,
I would prefer a less hostile path.
Can we do this less hostile, a less violent manner?
Your violence isn't really earning you any friends.
Right, he even says that. And basically, killing people or killing Silvers isn't where you want to go with this.
Yeah.
But also, he could just be saying that because he doesn't want to give him targets, which I understand he wants to work with the Scarlet Guard at this point and help Reds, but you're talking about giving up names of people you're willing to, or a destination or a location where people are going to die.
Yeah. Can I read what Farley says?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Your people are 1,000 times more violent and cruel than mine. We spent the last few centuries under a silver boot, and we're not going to get out by being nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Dead on.
Exactly.
Revolutions are very, very rarely bloodless.
Exactly.
Then Farley makes fun of Maven because, Maven and Mare, because they're standing there basically holding hands, kind of like this little united front. Farley's just...
It's just like, oh, you guys are so cute.
Yeah, she calls him the Little Prince and the Lightning Girl.
Which sounds like a cheesy, like 70s sitcom.
Oh, for sure. But Mare, like, sparks up in response to that.
Which is,
she does not like Farley calling her the little lightning girl at all.
Well, she doesn't like anyone calling her that.
I know, but especially not Farley.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to see little lightning girl? And, like, sparks up her hands real fast.
Then when she does
like,
that,
literally
like,
throwing hands.
Remember, they're in the middle of the conservatory in the middle of the Silver City, right?
Right, what's she gonna really do?
Well, she sparks up and all these Scarlet Guard come out of the woodworks in the shadows. There's a bunch of them. Like Tristan's there and all these other...
Yeah.
We'll find out some others that are there, but all these other Scarlet Guard comes out. And Mare's thinking to herself, in the book, she's thinking, they can't hurt her and Maven.
Yeah.
This is one of the things where you realize she's young, because she thinks, now I've got powers. I'm like the Silvers. I'm invincible. No.
They have guns. They can't shoot me.
Right.
Yeah, that's silly. And Farley just smiles. As Mare's lighting up, Farley just smiles. I mean, you can't break her.
Sorry, I'm smiling really big right now. So if my voice sounds different, that's fine. I'm actually smiling and laughing right now.
And this is where Farley says the biggest thing that they want is the prince and Mare.
Yeah.
Because with them standing by their side and everyone knowing that those two are with the Scarlet Guard, that's bigger than anything.
Yeah, I actually want to read what she says and how she phrases that.
Go ahead.
We can bomb and burn every inch of this country down, but that will never do the damage you two can do. A silver prince turning against his crown? A red girl with abilities? What will people say when they see you standing with us?
She calls them the face of their glorious revolution.
Yeah.
And then it kind of kicks into Farley and Maven kind of discussing how that the king and the Silver Royals have been trying to squelch any discussion of the Scarlet Guard until the Archeon bombing where they took credit and they couldn't really do it anymore.
Yeah. And then they like talk about the stuff that the king has tried to say weren't Scarlet Guard attacks.
Right, remember with Colonel McCanthos
was
having an argument with Alara, and Alara didn't want any of that because she was bringing up how they were Scarlet Guard attacks. And like there was the airfield, Harbor Bay, Delphi. So those are all things that were Scarlet Guard attacks, but most Silvers probably don't realize they were Scarlet Guard attacks.
Yeah.
So this is why Maven is probably privy to a little bit more information than the normal. I think this is why he's rightfully fearful of Farley, because they've done damage to the Silvers. A lot of damage, and it doesn't look good for the Silvers. Remember, they're all about power and strength.
Strength and power, yep.
Yes.
So she's shown...
Chant it like a cult.
Right, so they have to hide everything because she's showing that they're not as powerful as they seem.
Are we sure it's not a cult?
No. No, I'm not sure it's not. TikTok cult to clock.
And then also they couldn't make Mare go away.
Yes.
So now things are kind of cracking. There's a red with abilities. They can't just make her go away, so they got to turn her into a silver.
Yeah.
So we cannot have a red with abilities.
Yeah, but like they're not going to be able to keep that up forever. Like inevitably this is going to not be a thing.
Right.
Like there's no way that no one is going to come along and be like, wait, this is weird.
Right. So even Maven's kind of getting into it now. He's like, with Farley, they want to do something big. They want to do something that no one can say, oh, the Scarlet Guard's not a big deal anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually Mare that kind of like stops them and goes, hey guys,
this has consequences.
I don't think you understand what you're talking about and what's going to happen to all these Reds you supposedly care so much about, because she saw what happened to the Reds in Somerton after the Scarlet Guard took credit for the bombing and the Reds were getting beaten in the streets.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, the Silvers will turn on us. This will get worse.
Right. And Farley says, well, we'll get more volunteers.
Yeah.
And that more Reds will realize what's going on and know that it's time to make sacrifices.
Mm-hmm. So Mare is kind of getting all angry, kind of, and says, was my brother your sacrifice? Was his death worth it to you?
Well, and to her credit,
Farley doesn't try to lie.
She says Shade knew what he was getting into.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a lie. She's not saying that it wasn't a sacrifice that he had to make, but he knew he was doing it.
Yeah, and so Mare's still worried about Reds getting rounded up, what's going to happen to the Reds, And it's Maven who kind of comes in this time and says, think of your histories, Mare. What has Julian taught you?
Yeah.
And I'm going to read some things here.
Yeah. There's some good stuff here.
So Maven says, think of your histories, Mare. What has Julian taught you? He taught me about death, the before, the wars, but beyond that, in a time when things could still change, there were revolutions. The people rose, the empires fell, and things changed. Liberty moved in arcs, rising and falling with the tide of time. Revolution needs a spark, I murmur, repeating what Julian would say in our lessons. And even sparks burn. Farley smiles. You should know that better than anyone. And I think Mare's point is a good one, that for every action from the Scarlet Guard, there's going to be a reaction from the Silver, and they don't know what that's going to be. But Farley has made a very good point, as does Maven. At this point, almost what more can they do to Reds that they haven't already done? Is this really life? Isn't it worth sacrifice to get freedom?
Yeah.
That's where Farley's at this point. So it's kind of, I guess, you've got to decide on your own how much you can take until you're willing to sacrifice your life for the freedom of your children's lives or their children.
There's also all these other people are going to die. She's not thinking that she's already putting her life in danger just by being where she is right now.
Right. And then Mare's still not convinced, but Maven talks about Cal, saying Cal said that the change is not worth the cost. He said he believes that the Reds are being mistreated, but the change isn't worth the cost. What Cal means is the cost is Silver lives.
Exactly.
And Maven's basically is that what Cal's going to be the king? Is that what you want for the future?
Mare's just like, well, no, but...
So she's starting to kind of come around and understand there's not going to be change unless they make change. And that's going to take some sacrifice.
Not everyone can just make it out of this alive. We can't end this by talking. Talking it out isn't going to work.
So now they're looking for something. They want to do something, as I said, big. Something noticeable. Something that can't be discounted. Mm-hmm. They start talking about the ball that's coming up, which is what is it called?
The parting ball.
The parting ball. That's where they're getting ready to head back.
Mm-hmm. All the Queen's Trial girls leave, and the royal family heads back to the capital in Archeon. So
there's going to be a lot going on and a lot of people there. So it's
a huge event,
and it's a perfect time to do something.
Yes, because everyone is going to be there.
Right, but Mare is worried about Alara most of all. Because remember, she can get in your head. And she's worried about Alara knowing what they're doing or knowing something's up. Yeah.
But Maven knows that that's not true. Because there's going to be so many people there. Because of all of the mines that are going to be there for her to get into, she's going to be basically useless.
Right. There's going to be it's almost going to be like static. She's going to be, her signal's going to be blocked because there's so many mines. Right. Yeah. And Maven would know. Right. So they decide, Farley seems to be cautiously, I won't want to say 100% trustworthy or trusting of Maven, but she seems to believe that there's something genuine about him. Right. Yeah. So and the discussion, I think they pretty much decided that that's a good time. The ball would be an opportune time to do something. So Farley's basically like, well, we'll be in contact soon. Yeah. Which is, typical Farley. She's not going to tell you where or when. It'll just be pulled out of your room, and there will be Farley.
It'll just be a random blackout, and Walsh will take you out of your room. So, Mare asks for something else. Something in return.
She actually grabs Farley before she can leave. Yeah.
She says, my friend, the one I came to you about before, wants to join the Guard. But you can't let him. Just make sure he doesn't get involved in any of this. And Farley actually looks like she has, regret in her eyes. Well, sorry.
Too late. Because Kaloran comes out of the shadows.
Yeah. And this makes Mare really angry. Not at Farley, because she knows that being angry at Farley isn't a good idea, but at Kaloran.
Right. She's so mad at this guy for having his own life. It's hilarious to me.
Like, how dare you, a boy who's technically older than me, have your own life?
Right.
Excuse you?
And I get it. You got to remember, again, she is young. She's 17 and he's young. But it's just funny because she's like so mad to herself. She's talking about how after everything I've done for him, after I sacrificed so much to get him out of the war, after I did this for him. And I get it to a point, but he's a grown man.
And he didn't ask her to do any of that.
Right.
She just did.
And it's fine that she did that, and she's bummed, but she's so mad at him for doing what he thinks right. And he even says he's doing this for her. He's fighting for her, too. This isn't just about him.
Mare's all like, oh, you know what happened to Shade? You can't do this. Like, well, he's willing to do it. He doesn't care.
Right, she's mad he won't let her protect him, and he's mad that she just won't let him live his life and still be his friend.
I'm on Team Kalorn in this fight here.
She said that she knew that that's what he was going to do.
Right.
She said that at the end of the last chapter.
And that's
he's
why
going to go and find Farley.
That's
and
why
join
she was
her.
trying to tell Farley to stop him, and
But it had already happened. Like, too late.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, Mare wants to save everybody, and you just can't. And then as she's leaving, she won't even look back. She says, I won't look back, not now, when he's betrayed all I've ever done for him.
Mare, honey.
Over-dramatized much?
A little bit.
Because Kalorn basically didn't ask her to do anything.
Yeah.
And she's now mad at him for basically becoming a man.
Exactly. Mare's all like, do what you want, Kalorn. Like, she's getting all moody and...
Right. And he's like, but Mare, don't be so mad. And she's like, as if. So they head back, and then we basically get like a week goes by, and they haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
And then they go to training, and something a little different's going on.
Yeah. It's not a normal training session.
They're dueling.
Yeah. It's like sparring, so no one's gonna really get hurt because they have healers and everything.
Oh, they'll get hurt. They'll just get healed.
Oh, yeah. Permanently hurt. Before anyone dies.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the Chamber of Secrets when you get to see the teachers duel for the first time.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, real grown-ups using real magic. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Right. So Maven goes first.
Potterheads.
Shout out. Holla.
Maven goes against a nymph, right? Which is like they control water.
Water.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
which is
obviously water's going to put out flame.
Yeah. Nymphs are burners' like natural disadvantage.
Well,
it's the most notable disadvantage to a burner.
And Maven looks like he's doing well. And as he's doing it, Cal's standing by Mare and is like, oh, he's going to lose. She's like, well, he's got her cornered. But she feints him and basically pulls him and switches places and beats Maven. And Cal saw that because Cal would have whooped this girl's butt, regardless of the water.
Yeah.
And we find that out here in a minute. So Maven, as we can tell, not really a great strategist and fighter when it comes to combat.
Yeah.
Then we get a couple more duels, and then Cal goes up against two silvers, right? Do we know who these silvers are or what their abilities are?
Yeah, one of them is a Windweaver, and the other one is a Stoneskin.
Ah.
And Cal basically...
Those are both rather self-explanatory.
This is another in the line of Swole Cal, because Cal basically is toying with these two.
Yeah, like he's just so good at this.
He's so good, and Mare's just like astonished at how good he is and his swollenness.
She loves Swole Cal.
I put basically him the way he beat these two is like Swolness Personified.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Mega Swolitude. Oh, the Stoneskin is a Macanthos, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So somebody from the General's line.
So what we see here is we heard the story earlier. Before the story that he told about Thomas, Maven saying his father sent him to the war front. Maybe he could toughen him up and make him more like Cal. Now we're seeing what he means. Maven didn't look bad at first, and then he gets beat by this girl. Cal just looks like an absolute beast. He's clearly built for war.
Exactly, and he's also smarter when it comes to fighting, and I think That's one of the...
Right.
That's definitely Cal's, like,
military
strong suit.
tactics and combat tactics, absolutely, Cal. Yeah. And the ability to pull it off, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, it's Evangeline's turn to choose who she wants to duel.
Yeah.
Drum roll, please. And it's Marina Titanos.
What?
Dun, dun, dun!
How dare she?
That's our cliffhanger for the end of the chapter is she wants to duel Mare. Like, we should see that coming. You know Evangeline's had it out.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So that's where we end the chapter. The dueling portion, the last portion of that chapter, kind of sets up some things to come and gives us a nice cliffhanger. All it really did was, there were two things it did. It gives us the cliffhanger, and it displays
Cal's swollenness.
Yeah, Cal's swollenness.
The Swolitiude.
Yes. But everything that happened earlier with the Scarlet Guard, Farley, Maven, Mare, that's such an important part of this book.
Yeah, it's a really big turning point. I think it's when it really kicks off. This is when the story really starts picking up. Because there was, everything that happened, when she found out that Kulorn's master died,
right.
Whatever, that kind of set this whole thing off. And there was 8. She was, put into the Silver World. But this is where it really kicks off. Because this is where she's with the Scarlet Guard, and so is Maven, and they're planning all of this stuff that they're going to do.
Right.
This is when it really gets going. And
you get to see another side of Maven, and Mare does too, and Mare's going to be forced to marry this guy, but it's almost like they're both now fighting with the Scarlet Guard to try to stop everything that's going on, which means it would stop their forced marriage, but she's kind of fond of him now.
Yeah.
Actually. Which, you can understand.
It's not just, make the best of a crappy situation.
Right.
It's they're actually kind of into each other.
And clearly he had been thinking about this in the Scarlet Guard thing, at least at some point, because he even did say to Mare before, you're not alone in this. So this doesn't seem like a spur-of-the-moment thing from what I'm seeing for Maven.
No.
So anything that you want to go back through and discuss or touch on that we might have missed?
I don't think so.
Not that I can think of.
Pretty much everything. We went pretty in detail on this chapter.
Yeah.
This is a big one.
It is. It's a short chapter in the book. It's only 14 or 15 pages, but those first 9 pages, because so much is being set up right now.
All right. Well, this week we have kind of a new little segment. We did a little bit last week, but we're going to make it an official segment, and it's Fan Art Corner. I've been on Instagram a lot lately. Our account is Reading with the Rockefellers on Instagram, so go find us there. And I go through hashtags, hashtag Red Queen or hashtag Mare Barrow. Excuse me, sorry guys about my voice this week. It's really cold here. We had 9 inches of snow, so kind of going through a little bit of
my throat's going through a very similar thing.
But so I've been seeing all this awesome fan art on Instagram and really connecting with other fans of the series through fan art. So I want to invite all the artists that listen to the show, send us your fan art. We want to see what you guys draw. We want to see how you envision Mare looks, how you envision Cal and Maven looks. I've seen drawings of the palace.
Oh yeah, I want to see drawings of the buildings.
So send us whatever you guys have got. Again, find us on Instagram, Reading with the Rockefellers. You can email us at readingwiththerockefellers@gmail.com. We're going to start having an actual page on our website for fan art submissions. So if you go to readingwiththerockefellers.com and click on the fan art page, you'll be able to see all of our fan art. And this week, shout out to our fan artist of the week is M. Red Boss on Instagram. She put up an amazing drawing of Mare that we'll have on our website for fan art for episode 9. So definitely hop over to readingwiththerockefellers.com to see that, or find us on Instagram at Reading with the Rockefellers, and you'll be able to see all of our fan art submissions. So guys, please, thank you. Send them in. We love seeing your work.
And I've seen all of it. It is all very good.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. amazing work. It's great art, but it's also very creative because I love to see the way people view the characters and see the characters, because the characters aren't so overly detailed as far as their descriptions of their physical appearances in the books. They're not just like throwing detail at you like some
It's not
authors
like it's
do.
clearly based on one person. Like
Right.
they're clearly trying to create an image of an exact person.
Right, so you get a little bit of the character, so it's nice to see what people think that these characters look like based on just their own point of view.
Right.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, like I
how
have
people
my
interpret
thoughts.
this.
Right.
Yeah, and then seeing how other people interpret this universe in their head is super awesome. Especially since we don't have any movies or anything like that to go on with this series yet. So the world is totally built by the fans in their head.
And this drawing of Mare from this episode, the one that you were talking about, is amazing.
It's
love
really
that
good.
drawing.
MRed Boss does pretty much all portraits on their Instagram. It's portraits of different characters in books, and they're all amazing. So check it out. It's just the letter M, Red Boss on Instagram. And thank you so much, MRed Boss, for your fan art submission this week. We really appreciate it.
I think that about wraps it up for this chapter.
All right.
I think it does.
Thank you guys for coming on this journey for chapter 16 with us. This is a big one. It's kind of all downhill from here, I guess they could say. It feels like every chapter is like that, but this one is where everything really got turned on its head. Mare thought things were going to be one way, and now they're going to be completely different.
Right.
Yeah, if you really trace the Scarlet Guard action, it comes from here.
Right. We get to see much more of what they do from here on out and not, just hear about it, whispers of it.
And they're about to they're planning, in the process of planning, what they consider a rebellion, a revolutionary act, but what the Silvers are going to consider an act of terrorism. So this is going to be...
it's treason 100% what they're doing. And now they have the prince on their side too. So come back next week and see how all of this plays out with us. We are so glad that you guys are on this journey with us. We are loving going back through this book. We were talking off mic earlier about how great it is going back and rereading now that we've been through the whole series and kind of seeing, knowing what we know coming from that part of it and now coming back to the earlier ones. So we hope that you guys are having just as much fun with it as we are. All right. We will see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.